Bolton. I've just said, as Ian just said just before this video, I know it went off, but we're back again. Yes, it was bad, and it's still bad, and I feel for everybody who's lost people, and I'm not making light of it, but we've got to entertain ourselves. We've got to try and take our minds of it, so that's why I thought it's time for Flecky Bennett to come back. Ooh. So here I am, everybody. All performances, as I say, stopped on the 13th of March, so I'm absolutely skint. We're on bread and dripping at the moment and gruel. So to be cheeky and ask for like tips and stuff, I thought I'd better create something brand spanking new. Now, like all my performances, it's for adults only because there's sex, violence, bad language. Let's try that other camera, see if it works. Bad language and nudity. And that's just you. I can see you there, sat in your undies. Oh, yes. Actually, I'm not wearing any trousers because you can't see my legs, so it's spot on. Back to this one. How are you doing? I tell you, it's high-class stuff, this, isn't it? So, yes. So I thought I'd come back. So it's adult performance, sex, violence, bad language and nudity. And I thought, what should we make the first performance out? What area should I cover? And it was obvious. It was obvious because we've been in this flat since the 13th of March. I've been out twice to get some shopping. We've been self-isolating. Let me just put this down. I think you can see me all right anyway. Let me just put that down. Let me just get these lights sorted out. There you go. Yes. I thought, what should we do the first one about? Well, the only thing me and Emma have been looking at for the last bloody month, it's like being trapped, isn't it? Trapped.
Apart from each other.
We've been looking at each other, which isn't nice. Well, it isn't for her, but it is for me. But out there, all we can see is a place called Gorton, and that's where we live. And the first performance is about Gorton. So is anybody out there? We're gonna have a little drinking breaks in between. So you've got a glass of something, even if it's a cup of tea. We'll have a raise your glass moments every now and again, and I'll have a little. Maybe we can do some Q&A in a little bit. Then we'll have a Q&A at the end. But yes, so outside our window here is Gorton. Now, I don't know if there's any people from Gorton that are watching tonight, but you may know that its original name was the town of Gore. Oh, yes. If you could just turn the music down a little bit, Emma, if you don't mind. We're just getting the levels right here. That's Emma playing in the piano in the corner there. She's naked playing piano. She keeps turning around and giving me a cheeky smile. Yes, so the first episode is called Gorton. And yes, so you might be thinking to yourselves, where did it get that name from, Gorton? Well, let me explain it to you. Outside here, it's quite countryside, Gorton, although it's only like 3.5 miles from city centre, 10 minutes on a bus. Very handy for me to get in and out of places. It's very countryside. Well, bits of it are, you know. And what happened was the Saxons and the Danes fought here in Gorton. And it was a vicious battle on the hillsides and slicing and chopping at men, women and children. And yes, there was limbs and blood and guts all falling into the stream. Well, the brook that runs through Gorton. It's still got the brook there now. And all the blood was in there. And here's a picture that I made earlier. It's a bit like Blue Peter, this. Because I can't take you outside, it's going to be a virtual ghost walk. It's a great ghost walk, this, because it's for lazy bastards. That makes good sense. So you're looking at that. That would be what it looked like. It was full of limbs and blood of all the people that were fighting, the two armies, the Saxons and the Danes. It was gushing with blood. There was limbs in there. It was gory. So they called it the Brook of Gore. And they said that Brook of Gore goes through the town of Gore. And then it was called Gore Town. And then it was shortened to Gorton. And that same brook with blood and limbs and gore carried on, and it was called Red Ditch. And they renamed that place Reddish. So if anybody's here from Reddish, that's where it gets the thing from. By the way, all these stories I'm telling you are based on true documented accounts. Now, there's various accounts for things, but I like to go with the most dramatic and ghostly. So these stories tonight are about weird and wonderful and ghostly stories. So yeah, so that's why it's called Gore Town or Gorton. I live at flat number 13, so you couldn't get much spookier than living at number 13, Gore Town. Sounds perfect for somebody of my ilk, Flecky Bennett, that is. So yes, that's why it's called that. Now, it's got the Gore Brook. It still runs just down the road over there. It runs through the countryside a bit. And there's a bridge, and it's called the Maiden Bridge. And we thought, why is it called the Maiden Bridge? Well, before the bridge was built, there was just stepping stones, and that's how people used to cross the water. But the women round Gorton, because they've always been very high class, and they didn't like to pull their skirts up so they could walk across the stepping stones because it would reveal a tasty bit of ankle. So they actually had a whip around, they raised money, and they built the bridge so they wouldn't have to reveal their ankles to anybody. So that's why it's called the Maiden Bridge. Oh yes, but listen, there's several reasons why you wouldn't want to go inside the Gore Brook, anywhere near it. Because it's haunted by a demonic, what's she called, a demonic hag, who they believed used to hide just under the water level, and she used to entice children down to the water's edge, and then she'd get you. And she was called, let's have a look up here, she was called Jenny Greenteeth. Let's have a look at Jenny Greenteeth right now. Are we looking at Jenny?
Yeah, I was.
Excellent. I'm going to sack my, it's a learning curve tonight. So yes, you're looking at now, that's Jenny Greenteeth, who used to haunt the Gore Brook. She used to hide them. I mean, look at her. Bright green, sharp teeth, and any children that went by, she'd grab them and drag them under the water. Jenny Greenteeth haunts. Let me take this up here. Hang on. Oh, not the. Just bear with me, everybody. I'm going up to this one. Hello, how are you? Ooh. Jenny Greenteeth still haunts the Gore Brook if you go down there. So let's go back to me. I think I'll hold this up. It's a lot easier. So yes. So Jenny Greenteeth haunts the Gore Brook to this very day. But there's another strange little stream that runs through Gorton, and it's called the Nikor Ditch. Now, when I did my Disney performance one night, this woman said to me after in the pub, "So like a drink, like yourselves." She said, "You live in Gorton, what about the Nikor Ditch? What do you think of the Nikor Ditch?" I said, "What, you are?" She said, "The Nikor Ditch." I said, "I never bloody heard of it." She said, "Well, go in the graveyard, you'll find it." So in that big graveyard here, but don't show it yet. In the graveyard, no, Emma, resist it. In the graveyard, there's a stream, and this stream runs for 6 miles through Manchester from Stretford to Ashton-under-Lyne. And it's a little stream that runs through Gorton, and that's haunted by a water spirit. Now, I'll come back to the history of the Nikor Ditch, but Nikor is meant to be a shortened version of the water spirit Knocker.
Knockers.
Ooh. And Knocker, yes, apparently he's a water spirit, a good-looking young man with long dark hair, a body of an Adonis, who used to I know what you're thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, looking, he's very much like Flecky, actually. Yes, he used to hide in the water. So as people were walking along, he used to play a violin so beautifully. So this Knocker fella, this water spirit, was Billy Bollock naked, and he used to sit in the water, just hiding his modesty, and he used to play the violin, showing here. Now, it's not a good idea to play the violin in the nip, because all sorts of things could get stuck in your bow. And I know, I've got a violin. I've been trying to learn it for the last 5 years. And he would play away, and his music was so beautiful that it would entice the beautiful young ladies down to the water's edge. And then what he would do is grab them and drag them under the water. He's still down there to this very day. Come back to me, Emma. However, the women of Gorton worked out how to break the spell of Knocker. And what they used to do is prick their fingers and 3 drops of blood into the water nearby where he was playing his music. 3 drops of blood. Throw a black dead animal, your choice, into the water. Pour a little dash of vodka, and then put a little bit of snuff, what people used to snuff up their noses, into the water. At that point, it would break the curse. It wouldn't grab you. It'd actually teach you to play his beautiful music instead. So that's the water that runs through bloody Gore Town. So it's a bit vicious down there, isn't it? So the Nikor Ditch. Let me have a look at the Nikor Ditch. Now, if you don't know where it is, there is a place called Debdale Park in Gorton. That's how we pronounce it down here, by the way, Gorton. In Debdale Park, there's a beautiful park and reservoirs. They do sailing and all sorts on there. And then just outside that, there's a Fatners First gymnasium, closed. And then next door to that, there's McDonald's, just to take the piss, closed. And then across the road from that, there's an housing estate. Just walk through a few of those streets and you come to the most wonderful graveyard. It's called Gorton Cemetery. And I think you're looking at it right now. And it's quite amazing. It's in all these fields. Up to 80,000 people have been buried there over the years. And the Nikor Ditch runs through it, as you can see. That Nikor Ditch, nobody really knows why it was built. And it was built in one night. So apparently, on that 6-mile route, a man was stood there in a line. A chain of men, all that 6 miles, were told to dig a ditch the height of themselves. And that's where the Nikor Ditch comes from. So you can see it there if you pop along to there. So that's the Nikor Ditch inside Gorton Cemetery. So that cemetery, it's quite an amazing place if you have a look around it and have a wander around in the night time. I've been around there in the daytime and the night, and it's quite spooky. It hasn't got many famous people in there, but it's got somebody who's infamous, and for the wrong reasons, really. She's one of the Moor murderer victims. And I don't really want to talk very much about the Moor murderers because they don't think they should really have any more, you know, coverage for what they did. And there's still family and friends out there of the victims. So them family and friends, I want to be respectful to them. I don't want to, you know, say too much. But unfortunately, Myra Hindley was born and bred here in Gorton. She was described as the most evil woman in Britain when she was alive. And she worked in a factory, and Ian Brady worked there, and they met, they fell in love, and it was a dangerous liaison, and they murdered several people. I'm not going to say any more than that, really, because there's plenty of films about it and documentaries, and you can read all about it. The actual street where they used to live has been knocked down, and you can't find any record of it anywhere now. It's like people say, we're not going to speak about it. Shh, we don't want to say where it is. So, yeah, and one of their victims is in the graveyard, unfortunately. So, respect to those people. When Myra Hindley passed away, the headlines of the paper said, she's now in hell where she belongs. And I think that's quite right. And Ian Brady followed her a few years later. So let's not talk about them any longer. So that's the graveyard there. And then there's little church graveyards all over Gorton. There's quite a lot of churches. In fact, there's one just outside our window there. And yeah, lots of really nice church graveyards. And if you've been on my ghost walks, you'll know that Manchester was a hotbed for body snatchers. Let's have a look at the picture of the body snatchers. Yeah, body snatchers were rife here in Manchester because of the medical schools. So anywhere where there was medical schools, and you'll all have heard of Burke and Hare in Edinburgh, because there's medical schools there, medical schools in London, medical schools in Manchester, and they needed fresh bodies to practice on. So here in Gorton, the one that's just outside our window, there is a graveyard. And a little boy, only 9 weeks old, had died way back in 1828. Child mortality was very, very low, as you can imagine, with all the diseases. Not like now. It was 1828. He was buried. His family couldn't afford a very ornate grave or gravestone. In 1830, a wealthy gentleman was walking through, read what it said on the inscription. He was only 9 weeks old. This child thought this isn't a suitable grave for him. So he forked out and bought a new gravestone and a new grave. Then the body snatchers who came around every night looking for brand new graves, looking for fresh soil because they needed fresh bodies, dug into this grave, got the coffin, took it over to the medical school. When they opened it, the little boy was obviously really well decomposed by then because it was 2 years old, and he was never returned. So there's a grave just over there without a body inside. There's one grave over in a cemetery in that direction, which I bet nobody was brave enough, any of these grave robbers, because it belonged to a woman called Sally Strange. Would you dig into a grave that belonged to Sally Strange? And if you come on my Chorlton Ghost Walk, there's a grave there that belongs to, and I kid you not, but the kids are, if any kids watching, put your fingers in your ears. It belongs to Fanny Fiddler. Back out again, give me an headache for that zooming in then. So yes, they're the graveyards around here. Now, there's a pub called the Wagon and Horses. You've probably been through Gorton, most people. It's a high road that shoots through Gorton. There's a big Tesco. We live near the big Tesco. Very handy for going out at middle at night. Well, not anymore because it's shut. But yes, there's quite a few pubs on Hyde Road, and one of them's called the Wagon and Horses. Next door to that is a church called Brookfield Church.
Unitarian.
Yeah, Unitarian Church, which means one God for all. Behind the Wagon and Horses pub, there's an old graveyard that used to belong to the church, and it's totally destroyed, but it's quite beautiful in a way. The gravestones are toppled over, there's moss and fungus and mushrooms growing out, but it has some kind of strange beauty about it, if you ask me. But at the front, next to the Wagon and Horses, there's a magnificent structure, and it's a grade 1 listed building, and it's a mausoleum. Let's have a look at it now, everybody. And this is the grave of John Peacock. No, Joseph Peacock. Is it Joseph? Richard? Oh, sorry about that, cheers. Can't get the staff. Richard Peacock, and he was Gorton's first MP, and he's buried in that mausoleum with his son. Now, I didn't know what a mausoleum was really. I mean, I've been to Edinburgh. They've got some fantastic graveyards in Glasgow. Been to Père Lachaise in Paris, and they do big mausoleums. But I wasn't sure what it meant. But a mausoleum is actually a monument with the bodies inside, and if you haven't got the bodies inside, it's a cenotaph. That's the difference. So if you can look at it on that picture that you're looking at now, it was a fantastic mausoleum built in the French Gothic style, grade 1 listed building. It's got gargoyles and bats all over it, but you'll see on the corner there's a statue. Now on all the 4 corners there were statues, and you're going to look at another statue right now. He's been beheaded, my friends. Now, to the casual passerby, I probably thinks vandals, you know, hoodies, chavs, have ripped it off. But no, in that statue's arms, you can see a hammer. And it was representative of a blacksmith. Now, I know some of you have been on my staircase house to talk a little bit about this, because blacksmiths were to believe to be the devil as a human form, because they had the ability to make fire and to smelt metal. Hans Christian Andersen, that did the stories, the fairy tales, they had a story called The Blacksmith, the Smith and the Devil, which was banned from their collections for many, many years and only put back in a few years ago because people were terrified of blacksmiths. So the reason its head's missing, to break the curse of the blacksmith. Oh, come back to me, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Wagon and Horses. That's a pub. That's reminding me. Let's have a little drink. Raise your glasses, everybody. Let's have a little scoop. How are you all doing? Are you all right? Good, yeah. Well, we'll answer some questions at the end. I don't want to break the floor, because I am live, as you know from the start. We ballsed it right up, didn't we? Yes.
Hi.
Hello, that's Emma that you're looking at now. Oh, I'll put the lights on and look at her. There she is. She's actually put some makeup for the first time for 4 weeks. I haven't had any trousers on, ladies and gentlemen, for 4 weeks now, and I'm kind of enjoying it. Have you been following me the adventures of me top knot? Oh, yes. So let's get back to the script. Ooh, here we go. Shall we have a different light for a bit? I'll put 2 on. Look at that. Oh, that's nice. So, my friends, no, I'll stay with the white lights. I'll leave the red for the ghostly stories, yes. So, my friends, yes, pubs. Oh, yes. Now, I know lots of my Fleckers and Fleckettes like a good drink, and so do I. And I'm missing going to boozers like crazy, and I bet you are too. I go to so many brilliant pubs now on my performances with the audience, either at the interval or after. It really adds to the performance, and I'm not hearing anybody complaining about it. You know, I go to some great places like the Cracked Actor in Stockport, and I go to Motorbite, and you know, the Lead Station, and the Horse and Jockey, and of course the Shakespeare Inn, where I do a performance. And I love taking my audiences in them pubs, and I love being in there. So I like a scoop myself, not too much, you know. But yeah, they like a drink in Gorton. Oh my God, take me up into this top camera. Ooh, drink! You haven't seen anything like it. But the strange thing is, the pubs do all the business in the afternoons, because at night time they're shut by 8 o'clock. They just put in an afternoon shift round here. Ooh. So, I like doing that. If you've been on the ghost bus, any of them, it's a bit like that, isn't it? Yeah, when the kids come up to camp. Anyway, I need one of them for myself. Yes, they like a good drink in Gorton. And I used to, when I first came here in 2001, I think it was, I went to all these old pubs and stuff, and I soon realised which ones to avoid. But there's some nice ones. And one of the nice ones is the Plough. And that is on, again, it's on Hyde Road. It's on the main drag. And if you go past Tesco, it's the first pub you come to outside Tesco. It's called the Plough Inn. It's a really old pub. It's a beautiful pub, actually. If you go in there, they've got an original old toilet in the back as well, which they don't use anymore, but it's really, really quite interesting. But anyway, so drinking's a big pastime in Gorton, always was. But the way they used to entertain themselves is our good old friend, blood sports. Now, blood sports are quite active all over Manchester. Are we looking at the picture already?
Certainly are.
All right. Well, that picture looking at there is all about bull baiting. Now, you see those dogs? I don't know if any of you lot at home have got any kind of dog with bull in the title. Pit bull, bulldog. They were bred originally for bull baiting. In Stockport, you've got bear baiting. In Didsbury, you've got bull baiting. In Chorlton, you've got bull baiting. And in Didsbury, sorry, you've got cockfighting. But we'll keep it clean tonight. But yes, bull baiting. The bull, big vicious animal, was chained to a metal post just where Hyde Road is now, and everybody would gather around. You bring your, and they had special Gorton bulldogs, which were a very light brown colour apparently. They've now all died out. And you release your dogs one by one, and they try to attack the bull, and the bull will get its horns underneath the dog, toss them as high as possible into the air, and try to bait the dogs back. But you will catch your dogs, send them back in again. The only way a dog could survive was if it grabbed the bull by its most delicate parts. Now, I know all you people at home are shouting out, "It's bollocks!" Not the story, but its softest part of a bull isn't its bollocks. It's its snout. And the dog would grab hold of the bull's snout, and it was called pinning the bull. And it would basically suffocate the bull. Now, they didn't do this just for entertainment. I mean, there was no Love Island or any of that shite. So you had to make your own entertainment in them days. So it was entertainment, but not just that. Then they used to take the bull, chop it up and sell it for steaks to the audience which had been there. On one occasion, the bull got loose and killed one of the spectators. And as a mark of respect at the end, when they chopped the bull up, they sold the steaks off at a cheaper price as a mark of respect for the fallen audience member. How ridiculous. But here in Gorton, once blood sports were banned, people didn't know what to do with themselves. But we were very lucky here in Gorton because they had the playground of the world. You're now looking at a picture of Belle View. Look at it. Thank you, brother. It was known as the playground of the world. It was magnificent. Look at the roller coasters. Look at it. Stay on that picture. Stay on the roller coasters.
Yep.
It had one called the Bobs. Probably they nicknamed it that when it first opened because it used to bob you around like a bastard. And it had ghost trains. Let's have a look at it.
Because it made you go.
Ooh, I'll do the funnies. But the ghost train, it had its own ghost train. God, I wish it was open now because it was just across the road. It was absolutely fantastic. It had its own zoo. It had its own concert hall. Everybody played there. Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. And it had its own beautiful gardens, which you should be looking at right now. It was the playground of the world. Anyway, it all started to be closed down. We couldn't compete with Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Alton Towers. But the most famous thing and the last thing to close was the zoo. And it was shut in 1977. And the most popular thing at the zoo, what you're looking at now?
The Chimps Tea Party.
The Chimps Tea Party. Now, I know it's not PC, my friends. I know that. And we all remember the PG Tips adverts as well. And thank God none of this happens anymore. But unfortunately, back in the day, the Chimps Tea Party was the most popular thing to watch every afternoon. And yes, that's the Chimps Tea Party right there. Come back to me, Emma. So, in 1977, when they said that the zoo had to close, most of the animals couldn't be rehomed. They were very elderly anyway, and they were put down, unfortunately. 90% of the animals were put down. They managed to send some of the ones to different zoos. But the zookeeper that you just saw, can we go back to the zookeeper that's at the tea party? He was called Jack. And he said, listen, you can't pull all these chimpanzees down. I said, well, we can't. Are you going to take them? He said, well, I can't take them with me. He said, I can take one with me, though, and I'll take my favourite. And his name was Catcher. Let's have a look at Catcher.
He's handsome.
He is a handsome bloke. I mean, he shouldn't be in a costume. You're quite right, but he was. And he used to play a violin. He used to ride a bicycle. He could use 50 sign languages to each other. 50 sign languages. I thought that was just, I thought that's ridiculous, but they did. So anyway, they had to sort something out. So Jack said, I'm taking Catcher, and he was looking in a local paper for another job, and it said landlord wanted for the Vulcan pub. Now, the Vulcan pub is on Gorton Lane. If you've ever been to the monastery, you'll go past it. Oh, yes. And that's the Vulcan pub. Just a quick look at there. And he applied for a job there. And he got it as the new landlord. And he actually trained Catcher, the chimpanzee, to serve behind the bar. And people used to come from all over the country to be served by a chimpanzee. And you go up to the bar and you go, I thought this was PTK doing that. Yeah. Do you want a drink? Do you want a drink? That's actually sign language for, do you want a drink? So the chimp would go to you, and then you point at which pump you wanted. You go, thumbs up, and serve you. Take your money, put it in the till. Can you imagine being served by a chimp? I know Weatherspoon's had a few chimps working from these days, but But, yes. What do you want to drink? So people loved it. And then when Catcher died, Jack had him stuffed and mounted above the front door inside the pub. And as people came in and out of the pub, they go, good night, Catcher, and hello, Catcher. People still loved him. And then Jack died eventually. Now, I tell this story on my Didsbury performance because Jack is buried in Didsbury Cemetery. And if you come on my Didsbury performance, I go into a bit more detail and I take you to where he haunts. But in that cemetery in Didsbury, at night time, there's been the ghost of a man who's been seen walking round the gravestones. Now, Jack, in his will, when he died, instructed that he wants to be buried with his beloved Catcher in the same coffin. And now this man's seen walking round the graveyard. Top off of Jack, bottom off of a chimpanzee of Catcher. And he's known as the ghost of Monkey Jack. Oh, let's put me up onto this one. Oh, the ghost of Monkey Jack haunts the Didsbury Cemetery. Oh. Now, if you don't believe half man, half monkey still walks around, look at Ian Brown. Just saying. Apparently, we're 98% same DNA as a chimpanzee. And some of you out there are 99, and I know who you are. Yeah, so that's it. Anyway, you might think to yourself, oh, by the way, I said everything that I tell you tonight is based on documented accounts. Well, it is to a degree, but you won't find that documented anywhere because I found out the information. I'm the first person to document it. Now you think, is Flecky making this story up? No, I'm not. Because I used to drink in his old pubs, and they used to say to me, are you coming to Monkey for one? I say, you what? There's no pub called the Monkey. They say, you coming to Monkey? I said, no, but where's the Monkey? They went, it's called the Vulcan. And they told me the story about the chimpanzee serving. And if you look at the sign, you'll see that it's got a monkey hanging in the background of the sign. And the V of the Vulcan is a monkey's tail. So that confirms that I'm telling the truth. So that is the story of Monkey Jack. Oh, yes. I think it's time. Is it time to raise our glasses?
No.
Oh, is it not time to raise our glasses again?
No.
Oh, well, let's go back to it then. So...
Still on the pub crawl.
Oh, we're still on the pub crawl. Oh, yes. And any of those people that I could do with a pub crawl right now. I bet you could as well, couldn't you? Yeah, I don't know if you've been to Gorton, anybody, but there's a wonderful old pub called the Vale Cottage. And it's sort of our hidden gem here in Gorton because it's hidden away. It took me, I'm not joking, 2 years of living here to find where it was. I had to be taken by the hand and taken to it. It's just off Hyde Road, but you can't see it from any road. You can't see it from any footpath. Well, that's not exactly true. You can see it from one path. And I don't know if you're looking at that right now, but that is the old Salt Road where they used to carry the salt from Macclesfield, and it's medieval. And that goes past the Vale Cottage, and that was one of the main pubs on the Old Salt Road before everything else was built up around it. So yeah, that's the Old Salt Road. So it's quite, and the Vale Cottage, well worth going in. It's got lovely old beams, and parts of it date back to the 1700s, and it's a beautiful place. Now, just round that area is a place called Tanyard Brow. Tanyard Brow. And it's called that because, well, that's the place. As you can see, you're looking at it right now. That's Tanyard Brow. And it's called that because it had a tannery. Now, apparently, tanneries are the worst smelling thing that you could ever smell. And Gorton was the smelliest, it still is, was the smelliest place. It was the smelliest place in Manchester. They often built tanneries on the edge of cities and towns because of the smell. So Gorton absolutely stunk. They used to say you can tell a Gorton man because he walks around like this with his head in the air, going like, I'll have the other camera, please, Emma. He walks around with his head in the air, sniffing like this. Oh, like the Bisto kids. And I believe it's because of this awful smell here in Gorton. Because of the tannery. The smell was awful and the men used to walk around sniffing the air. And why did tanneries smell so bad? Well, I knew nothing about tanneries. I'm quite happy to wear leather jackets and stuff, but I don't really want to know where it comes from. But, so what they used to do back in the day, the slaughterhouse, they cut the hide, the skin off the animal, the cow, and they just quite roughly cut, still bits of flesh and blood all over it. Then they'd throw that back on the back of a cart, a wooden cart, and they let them stack up. They could be there for a week or whatever, stacking up the smell and flies, and then they'd ride it off to Gorton, the smelliest place in Manchester, take it over to the tannery. Now, it's quite a hideous process, and that's why it stunk so bad. It's our friend Piss and Poo again. I love talking about piss and poo. Most of my ghost walks have a story about piss and poo, and I'm not talking about myself. No, not yet, Emma, not yet. Wait for it, wait for it. She's trying to put a photograph on, and we're not ready for it yet. No, but what they used to do. So, if you've been to Debdale Park, you know there's reservoirs. So it used to be a reservoir. A bit of the reservoir used to stream through to the back of Tanyard Brow to the tanner's yard. They get these horrible bloody skins that were full of flesh and blood, and they were rock solid by this point with all the blood, and they dip them and wash them in the reservoir water, which would soften them and start to clean them a little bit. But you couldn't really get it really clean until you get our old friend Piss involved. Now, we all know about where piss comes from. It came from the poor people of Gorton. The people that didn't have toilets and stuff used to piss in buckets, and then they would sell it to tanneries. It was used for bleaching cloth as well, but they sell it to tanneries to bleach the material. And the really poor people couldn't afford a bucket to piss in, and or a pot, as you used to call it. And that's what we get to saying, so poor they didn't have a pot to piss in. So the poor that did have a pot to piss in gave the piss to the tannery. They soaked the hide in it, and that managed to get a lot of the blood and the gore off it. But the final process, and I kid you not, was rubbing it with dog shit and cow brains, showing now. I mean, just look at that, my friends. Just look at it. Absolutely vile.
Sorry, Amanda.
And I reckon that's where they get the saying from. Shit for brains. What do you reckon? And that's why Gorton was the smelliest place in the country. I think it's time to raise our glasses now, isn't it, Emma?
It certainly is.
Oh, let's have a drink. Are you enjoying it? I hope you're all enjoying it. Give generously. You didn't hear that because that was subliminal. Yes. No money coming in, person. No, you didn't hear that neither because that's subliminal. It's just going into your psyche. You can't actually hear me. Tip me. You couldn't hear that neither. You couldn't hear that. So your psyche, it's in your subliminal message. You'll wake up in the middle of the night going, Flecky said tip us, we didn't do. Tip me. So, yes. Keep me ticking over. I've got to feed Emma as well. Oh, yeah, we're down to one sachet of porridge with cinnamon. Ooh. So, my friends, let's have another drink. Raise your glasses. Hope you're all well and happy at home. I hope this is a bit like a virtual ghost walk. I'm bloody enjoying myself because I love you, Flecky'S and Fleckettes out there. I've met so many brilliant people, and I hope there's some people out there that have never seen me before that maybe wanted to come on a performance, but were too lazy because they don't like getting off their arses. Well, this is perfect for you. And I'm hoping to do these on a regular basis, especially while this is on, because God knows how long it's going to be before we can get back to any kind of normality. But I'm enjoying it, and I hope you are too. So, yes, I talked a little bit then about the Gorton people having a very strange way about them, going, let's have a look up on there again. Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Look. Oh. They used to walk around like that, sniffing the air like the bistro kids.
And cocking an ear.
Cocking an ear, listening out for things. Listening to me talking about you, yes. Now then, there were some oddballs. There's some strange people lived here in Gorton. What do you mean? I know you're looking at me. I know you're looking at me, but no. Let's have a look at this one that lives here. Look at that one. Look at that one. That's behind the camera tonight. She's doing a good job though, isn't it? Apart from the start when it was lovely. Right.
I'm trying.
Well, you know, we got it back on, didn't we, everybody? So that's all right. Only a couple of minutes. We'll be right for next time. We're learning as we go along. So yeah, there's some oddballs lived round here. There still is some oddballs, believe me, out there. It's been hell on earth today. Stay inside, protect the NHS, save lives. They've never heard of it, unfortunately. And even if you shout at them, but I've worked out, you know, you've got to have a certain amount of intelligence to understand simple instructions. So you can't really blame them, can you? Really? So talking about simple people, let's talk about let's talk about the people that used to the characters from Gorton, apart from myself. So there was somebody called. Let me look.
Are we going up?
Let's go up.
Let's go up.
You know when you're doing the side, there was somebody called. Is anybody watching? Back to that. There was somebody called Bouncing Billy Barker. Don't go to him yet. Bouncing Billy Barker. I'll say it again. He was well, he looks quite elderly to be perfectly honest. He must have been in his 60s or whatever when this photograph was taken. Show him the photograph. That's Bouncing Billy Barker. A legend. Leave the picture on. He was a legend round here because he could stand by the side of a fully grown horse and from the standing position, without taking a running jump, could jump over the entire height of the horse and land on his feet at the other side. It was also known as Spring-Heeled Jack of Gorton. But his party piece, just wait for this, he put a carton of eggs on the floor, right? He put a carton of eggs on the floor. He'd get his shoes and he'd put black polish on the soles of his shoes. And then he'd stand on the floor. He'd jump onto the eggs and off them in a split microsecond and land on the other side. And he'd say to people, I've stood on the eggs on my way over them. He'd say, I've stood on them as I go over them. They say, no, you can't have them. When you look at the eggs, they're covered in black off the bottom of his shoes. So he could jump, touch, and then land on the other side. Bouncing Billy Barker. His other party piece was jumping over the Gore Brook and the canals round here. He'd have a big audience watching him, and he would bounce he'd bounce as he was going over the canal. He would touch the water with his feet on his way across and then land on the other embankment. He'd be able to touch the water and then land on the other side. And then he would bounce the entire length backwards in one go. Bouncing Billy Barker. So he was one of the people here that lived in Gorton. Now, acting. Yes, actors. Now, I am an actor, as you may have gathered this evening. Yes, you can see the quality. 5 years training for this shit. Yes.
It's come back to
so, yes, she's singing from Sweeney Todd about actors. Yes, no, never mind about all that. So, actors, yes, famous people of Gorton. Now, funny enough, when I first moved to Gorton, after I finished at drama school and my acting degree, same school as Steve Coogan and Julie Walters, just saying, I went off to London. I thought I'd be able to, because my agent was in London, and I thought, oh, I can just pack up from Manchester. I was living in Longsight at the time in a student house. I packed up a van and thought, yeah, I can travel to just drive down to London with all my belongings. Me and my housemate Tommy, who was a fellow actor, we thought we'd get somewhere to live because my agent wanted me to be in London. We got down there, nobody would give us anywhere to live. We had to have 2 months bank statements, letters from the job we were going to. They won't take actors. So we slept in the van for 3 nights till we were stinking and there were flies buzzing around us. got back to Manchester. We couldn't go back to our old house because there was somebody else moved in by then. And the only place that was vacant in the paper and didn't want any references, didn't want a deposit, was here in Gorton. Oh, yes, good old Gorton. So why am I telling you this? Oh, yes. So never been to Gorton before in my life. Didn't even know it existed. Like probably a lot of you people won't have even heard of it until tonight. And 3.5 miles from city centre, 10 minutes on the bus. We decided to go for a drink around our local neighbourhood to see what's happening. So we went down to the Plough, which I was telling you about before, where the bull baiting used to take place outside. And as I went in, the woman behind the bar went, not seen you around here before. I said, no, we've actually... So we used to live in the other side of Manchester, then we moved to London, come back, and we moved to Gorton. She goes, oh, what do you do? I said, I'm an actor. She said, so am I. I said, oh, brilliant. I said, have you been in anything? She said, well, I've been struggling for quite a few years, but I've just been in an episode of The Royal Family, you know, with Ricky Tomlinson. Oh, my ass. Love it. The Royal Family, and I'm a big fan of it. I know probably a lot of you are out there. She goes, I've just been filming being Twiggy's girlfriend in a Christmas special. Michelle, her name was. I thought, oh, brilliant. I said, oh, God, I'd love to be in that. And I said, I've just been in Coronation Street, so I've just got a part in that and Bad Girls. I'm not giving you my CV or anything. But she went, all right. She says, you haven't some luck then? I said, yeah, I'm not doing so bad. She goes, I'm up for an audition for Coronation Street myself. And then she got the part of... I can't remember what she was called in Corrie. Can you? Anyway, she was landlady. Sally Lindsay, anyway. You'll know her now when I say Sally Lindsay.
Is it Shelley?
I think she was Shelley, yes. Sally Lindsay, yeah. I think she played Shelley in Coronation. For about 3 years or 4 years, she was the landlady of the Rover's Return. And still lots of Sky things and stuff like that now, isn't she? So Sally Lindsay was behind the bar. So it was quite odd because I used to see her behind the bar there. Then she was behind the Rover's Return. And then there was a place, there still is a pub called, oh, obviously they're all bloody shut now, obviously, but... for the time being, but there's a place called the Royal Oak, and I went in there, and the guy behind the bar was a spitting image of Jack Duckworth, and it was actually Jack Duckworth's son, you know, who's in Coronation Street. What did he play? Character, Jack Duckworth. Well, anyway, you all remember Jack Duckworth, don't you? No, that was his character's name, wasn't it? Bill Tard. Sorry, Bill Tardy's the actual actor. Yeah, that's right. Jack Duckworth's son. Spitting image of him, and I saw Jack Duckworth a couple of times in there, so. I thought, this is weird round here. All the stars are everywhere. And then the pub opposite me, the Gorton, the Angel, their daughter or the daughter-in-law, she's an actress as well. So there's a big acting fraternity round here. But it all started getting really interesting about, must be 10, 15 years ago, but around that time, when a programme called Shameless was the big programme, and it's still bloody brilliant if you watch it now, with David Threlfall playing Frank Gallagher. You're probably looking at him right now. I went to the same drama school as him, thank you. And they filmed it here in Gorton. They actually used a proper housing estate. So in the first 3 or 4 series, it was the actual housing estate that they actually used. I'll say actually again, because I've only said it 10 times then. But they actually used an actual housing estate in the actual series. But then they were getting too much hassle with kids or, you know, hoodies and stuff like shouting and screaming when they're trying to film. So they built the set somewhere else. And then all that area's been knocked down because it's all regeneration. I'm talking about Gorton, you know, but this is a brand new flat that I'm in here because it's been regenerated. A bit like Doctor Who. And yes, so all that area was knocked down. And just across from where it used to be filmed is now a film studio called Space Studios. Let's have a look at it. I mean, look at that. It's just down the road from where I am here. And they're using it for making all sorts of blockbusters. And when you go past it now, there's film sets built outside. There was, well, I'll come back to that in a second, but they've just done a big sci-fi series for America that was filmed inside there. And then when we went past on the bus a few times, there was all these, like, looked like a mine shaft, didn't it? A mine shaft from outside they built. Yeah. And we believe that's for the new series of this. Yes, it's the headquarters of Peaky Blinders. That's where they're based now, at Space Studios. So obviously they go out on location a lot, but the other bits are filmed inside there. So basically, all them ugly gets like Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy, they're all just down the road here having their makeup done every day. Oh, yes. So unbelievably, it's becoming like Hollywood around here after all that time. So that's Space Studios. And so just next to Space Studios is probably one of the most famous things that people come to Gorton for, and that's the monastery. Built in 1867. and you're looking at a picture of it right now. It's called Gorton's Taj Mahal. So it was built in 1867. It's actually not a monastery at all because it had friars inside. It should be called a friary. But for some reason, they thought monastery sounded better when they remarketed it. And since the town hall shut, it's now become the #1 wedding venue. Have you looking at that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's beautiful inside. Don't get any ideas, Emma. She's looking at me. She's holding up her finger. She keeps saying, put a ring on it. Yes. Don't be commenting and say she should, and I should. But anyway, we might go to Gorton Monastery one day. Are we having a look at Emma? No. Anyway, yes, so it's the in place to get married these days. I know a lot of people that I know have been there. It's beautiful inside. I kind of liked it more when it was still a bit derelict because I went there before they started doing it up and it was really atmospheric. And I actually went to watch The Exorcist inside there. You know when they do these films in different locations like inside caves, inside Victoria Baths? Well, they did one there. They showed The Exorcist inside an old monastery. I thought, this is cool. But yeah, so it's now a wedding venue. I think it's time for another drink, don't you?
Certainly is.
Let's have another drink, everybody, because we're about to get to the ghosty bits of Gorton. Oh, yes. Nice drop of wine, that. That's actually the wine that the Man United sponsor, which is that, what's it called? Castle of the Devil. What's it called?
Castillo
Diablo, the wine of the devil, or the house of the devil. Oh, yes. Talking about Man United, we've got Man City just over the road. The Etihad's not too far away. And if you know that Gorton was the place where the Man City started. It was called West Gorton Football Club, and it was the home of the Scuttlers for a while, and then it turned into what it is now. I bet you're all missing the football, you football fans out there. We'll be back. Man United was just playing well as well when it stopped. Anyway, yes, I think it's time for the dry ice and the change of lighting. Oh, yeah. You've heard it here first. You've heard it here, my friends.
Shit's getting serious now.
Oh, shit's getting serious. You're quite right.
It's getting real.
Look at that. Here we go.
Hey, oh.
We're not playing games now.
No.
We're not playing games. Oh, let's have a look on this one.
Hang on.
Oh, that's a bit much. We're not playing games now.
It's mostly lights and smoke and
Yes, it's mostly lights and smoke, Dave. So, yes. We've got a bit obsessed with the royal family, I think. Here we go, yes. Oh, here we go. Let's get the spooky atmosphere going. So, my friends, let me talk to you about the ghosts of Gorton. Now, I'm the ghost walker extraordinaire. And, you know, but I like to do a bit of everything. I like a bit of history. I like the weird and the wonderful. But here's some ghostly bits. So, yes. What are we talking about? We're talking about
the monastery.
The monastery once again, yes. Now, you know when you were a kid. Zoom in on me. Zoom in on me.
Zoom in.
Zoom in.
Here we go.
Right in.
Right in.
Ooh, well, look at it. Hey, you know when you were a kid, you refused to go to bed, or you were playing out and being naughty, did your mum used to say to you, I'll ring the police, or the bogeyman will get you? We're not here in Gorton. They said the friars were gonna get you. Oh, it said to me nose that, pull back. Oh. They said the friars are gonna get you. The kids were terrified of these friars because they were quite stern characters. I'm not saying all of them were, but they had a bit of a reputation. She said, if you don't behave yourself, the friars are gonna get you. And a lot of the kids used to report that they used to see the ghost of a friar walking around the monastery late at night. Remember, it was derelict for lots of years, so they used to play in there and they'd see this. Are you showing them now? It's another one I made earlier. I should have been a graphic designer. So that is supposed to be haunted by the ghost of a friar that walks up and down that area. Now, some of you might know, apart from Gorton Monastery, you might know Gorton for another thing. The Bellevue Greyhound track, which is just down the road. And I believe it's going to be demolished because it's well out of, you know, it's not PC to do greyhound racing anymore. Whether you enjoyed it or not, I'm not going to comment. But, you know, they do, you know, some of them treat the dogs terribly. So I'm not going to be sad to see the back of it. I don't know if they should destroy it and knock it down because they do stock car racing there and speedway, but it's going to be knocked down. But behind them streets is an area I've just found out about called Murder Lane.
I thought you were pointing for the place.
Murder Lane. Can you see me, everybody?
We can see
Are you looking at me now? It's called Murder Lane. Back over here, Emma. Come on, back on me. Yeah, it's called Murder Lane, and I thought that's a strange name. There's an area called Knutsford Vale, just behind Bellevue Greyhound Stadium, and it's called Knutsford Vale, that area. And they've reported they've got this area called Murder Lane. I thought, okay, why is it called that? So it's called that because in 1909, a gentleman called. I'm just looking at my script for this one because I can't get his head in my mind. His name in my mind. I'll pretend I'm talking to my spirit guide, Fanakapan. Fanakapan, can you give me the name? There's a man called, he was called Mark Shawcross. And he was going out with a young lady called, what's her name? Fanakapan, what's her name? Emily Ramsbottom. Have you ever been up a Ramsbottom? And they were going out together, but it was a violent relationship, a bit like the Moore Murders relationship, really. A violent relationship between Mark and Emily. And one day, he took off his handkerchief and he strangled her, then left her in Murder Lane to die. It was in all the papers. Woman found choked to death with an handkerchief on Murder Lane. And he actually wrote a letter to the police saying that he'd done the crime. And then when they came to arrest him, he said he made it up. He just read the story in the paper and he didn't know anything about it and he was very sorry. He hung by the neck till he was dead because he murdered Emily. And her ghost has been seen walking up and down Murder Lane. Her eyes bulging. Her tongue hanging out. Seen at the dead of night. Now listen, people say they go down Murder Lane in the daytime. Murder Lane, they quite happily go down in the daytime, but there's no lights at night, and it feels terrifying. So if you wander down Murder Lane, you may come face to face with Emily. With her eyes bulging. Come on. The tongue sticking out. Hey, you think Murder Lane's a good name? There's also a Dick Lane, just around the same area. I wouldn't like to go into detail of why it's called that. So, my friends, bit of dry ice for the penultimate story. The hellfire. It's a bit much. The eyes water. I'm a big horror film fan. We've got a fantastic thing at the moment that Emma's brother, it was your brother who bought it?
It was my brother, yeah.
And I think you might be watching. He bought us this wonderful, brother and sister-in-law, and mine as well, because we'll be married one day.
Hey, that's on record.
I didn't say, I did not propose. I said we'll be married one day. One day more.
Everyone heard that.
Another day, another destiny. What was I saying? I'm available for weddings.
Keep buggles, put a ring on it.
Shut up. Now, we've got a wonderful Christmas present, and it's this scratch chart. It's probably like A1 size, like a poster you put on the wall, and it's like a big scratch card. You know when you like scratching it off to win money. And it says 100 greatest horror films, 100 best horror films. And every night we do one of us closes our eyes, and one does this with a finger, and we sort of stop. And whatever we land on, we try. I'll tell you something though. If you're trying, no, it's not. If you're trying to watch horror films and you try to find 100 of the best on Netflix or anything, you can forget it. They're not, hardly any of them are on any of them. I don't know why, but you know, you have to find them off other sources. But one of my favourite films, a modern horror film, is The Conjuring, but not the first one so much because I don't know, it's not as good. The first one's like about it's set in America. Can we see a picture of it? This is the first one.
No, it's not.
Oh no, we'll come to that in a second. Cheers, everybody. That wasn't raging up, but I fancied it a little bit then. Yes. I'm not scared on the first one, but the second Conjuring film is really good because it's based in England, and it's about. Let's have a look at it.
This is the second one.
And this is the poster for it, and it's about the Enfield haunting. Enfield, just outside London, and the most famous poltergeist story. You've probably all seen. I've tried to do an impersonation of it. What was it now? I'm going to do it for you right now. Come back to me.
Hang on.
Oh, shine a light. Have I gone off?
Yeah, what have you just done?
Oh, no. Stay with me. Go on to that camera up there.
You just had to mess.
You'll go on to that camera up there. Go on to that camera.
Yeah, we're on that top one.
Just bear with me. Go back to that thing that's the camera symbol.
The camera symbol, yeah.
Have you clicked on me? Hang on, everybody. Hang on. And then turn me around on that camera.
Hang on.
Turn me around. That's it. All back. I'm sorry about that,
go.
everybody. Caught the camera. I was getting a bit keen there. Yeah, if you watch The Conjuring 2, this won't spoil it, but this ghost comes in and he goes, "My name is Bill Wilkins." Is it Wilkins?
Yeah, it's not.
"My name is Bill Wilkins. This is my house. Get out of that one." Turns my throat doing that. Shouldn't do that ever again.
No, don't do that.
But it's quite a scary film, The Conjuring 2. Sorry about losing you for a moment then. But it's it's first time, so please bear with us. Yes, The Conjuring 2 is about the Enfield haunting, and there was an even better series. It was on Sky Television, I think, and here it is now. And that was called the Enfield haunting. Was it called?
It was.
Starring the magnificent actor Timothy Spall, who's in a brilliant film about Lowry at the moment, by the way.
Can't believe how much that went off the radar.
Yeah, it went off the radar, that film. It went anyway, Timothy Spall, as you can see him on your screen there, and he plays a character called, I'll tell you in a minute, Maurice Grosse. Come back to me. Maurice Grosse features in both the films, The Conjuring 2 and Timothy Spall plays him in that. And Maurice Grosse was really, really interested in the case of the Gorton Poltergeist. You've heard it here. The Gorton Poltergeist. Yes. Yes, the Gorton Poltergeist is quite a famous story, and him being a paranormal expert was really interested in the story of the Gorton Poltergeist. Now, there is I don't know if you've looked at it yet.
Yeah, I was just showing the...
We'll show it again. There's actually a YouTube film you can watch. It's the documentary. It was actually shown on the Discovery Channel many years ago, and it's called The Strange Case, isn't it?
No, just the case of the
Gorton Poltergeist. Of the Gorton Poltergeist. If you watch it, it's very entertaining, but it's a bit like a paranormal version of Jeremy Kyle. I'll say no more. I'll let you use your imaginations. Anyway, come back to me. Come back to me. But it's really entertaining. Now, this flat, I'm not going to give you my proper address because I know you Flecky'S might be around here pressing your bodies against the windows and stuff and throwing your knickers at me. So I'll give you. But you've got a rough idea where I am with what I've been saying tonight. Come and find me if you can. But yeah, this area, apparently it was a burial ground. It's always a burial ground, isn't it? But not a Red Indian burial ground, a burial ground. Way back, Anglo-Saxon times, it was a burial ground. And then different houses were built on top of it, Victorian houses, and then it was completely flattened, and they built one of Manchester's biggest housing estates. This, which we're in now, this is was a council flat, and then it was all this area was taken over by Eastlands Homes, then one Manchester. I think they own most of the property in Manchester now, one Manchester. And then they gutted this flat and started again, so it's a brand new flat, really. But when this was the old flat, even on this very same spot, it's still my flat, but it was a different layout. Now, a friend of mine stayed many, many years ago, and the bedroom used to be in a different position, and you could look into the living room when you had the bedroom door open. And she said to me, she said, because she believed she was a psychic, she said, there's a man in that corner. There's a man. I can see him as clearly as anything. He's got a long beard. He's very dirty. He's wearing sort of sackcloth. And she was so terrified she had to have the light on all night long. I was in my bedroom, she was in the spare room, she had the light on all night long. She said there's something there, this has been built on top of something. And I only found out later on that it is built on something. It's built on a burial ground. And all these council properties were built. So we're talking about in 1997, that's a few years before I came to Gorton, there's a documentary made because there was an housing officer, I think his name was called Paul, and he was getting all the reports from his tenants. First of all, this woman came to him and said, can I tried to do my Mancunian accent, Paul, can I speak to you a minute? No, I won't do it because I'm not very good at it. I'm more northern than Mancunian. She went, is there any chance you could move me out of Gorton because my next door neighbour, she hates me guts because she keeps banging all the time. She goes, I don't know whether I've got my television on loud or whatever. She's banging on the wall all the time. Even when I go to bed and I'm making no noise, she's banging on the wall. She goes, it's I can't stand it. She obviously hates me. So he had a word with her neighbour, and the neighbour was coming out with the same story. She says, no, she keeps banging on the wall all the bloody time, all night long. She's banging, banging, banging. So they were both having the same experience, but didn't talk to each other about it. They both presumed that each other hated each other because of it. So he started investigating, and he started getting some more people. This other guy contacted him, who lived on the houses just across the road, really, and said he was thrown one night across the living room by 12 feet, straight across the wall, straight out, right across. 12 feet was thrown. Told his girlfriend, she said, oh, don't be so bloody ridiculous. You must be pissed. Because I'm not. I was thrown. Anyway, a few weeks later, his girlfriend just went upstairs to bed. He switched the telly off, and I don't know about you, but in the old days, we used to unplug them as well because we're terrified of lightning coming down the bloody area, weren't we? He unplugged it. By the time he got to the door, the television came back on, it had been plugged in and set back off again. He went upstairs and said, we've definitely got a ghost. So that was reported to the council. But the scariest story, without a doubt, was a young couple a few doors along who had an infant child. And the infant child had their own bedroom. And they used to say, they'd put her to bed, you know, about 5 or 6 at night, or whatever you do with kids these days. I was in bed by 4:30 when I was an infant. But she was in bed early, but they could hear her every night about 11:30 p.m. saying these words. Papa. 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 They thought, oh my God, what's going on? Every night, 11:30, Papa. Papa. So they decided to move the little infant out of the bedroom and move him into the same bedroom with the couple. Bad idea. There's nothing scarier than children that can see ghosts, isn't there? They woke up at 11:30 to see the little girl not only going, Papa, Papa, but reaching out forward, going, Papa, 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 reaching out towards them, Papa, Papa. She was reaching for somebody that wasn't there, to like offering herself to be picked up, going, Baba, Baba. Oh, I'd be out of there. Shot her a gun with that. That was reported to the council. So all these things were going on. This other couple, 3:30 in the morning, he'd often wake up, the husband, look into the doorway, and stood there was a young girl, teenage girl. Said she looked solid, like a real person, and she just vanished. Every time he tried to wake his wife up to look at her, she'd disappear. So the guy from the council said, I'm going to have to start taking this seriously. There's too many accounts of weird and wonderful paranormal activity happening here in Gorton. So he contacted a local priest. He said, I'm not interested. I don't believe their stories. I think they're just saying this so they can move out of Gorton, move to Chorton, move to Didsbury, move to Watonshaw, Lavengeon. Any of these places, they wanted to get out of Gorton. He said, it's just an excuse. There's no way this is happening to him. So the priest washed his hands of it. He wouldn't support them one bit. So he had to turn to a paranormal group from Stockport. And they came to Gorton. And they interviewed all the people I've just told you about with their stories. And the couple that kept seeing the young girl, the teenage girl, in the doorway, they went to their house and they decided to do a seance at a Ouija board. And if you want to do a seance on Ouija board, by the way, I know some of you have done it with me. I do it on the Tavern of the Dead. Come and join me for it. But they started doing a Ouija board and a seance. And as they were there, they dimmed the lights. The medium and psychic, this teenage girl, appeared next to him. Said she was about 14, 15 years of age, in a grey dress that finished at her knees, with ankle socks. But when he looked at her feet, one of her shoes was raised up. It was built up. She had one leg shorter than the other. She moved in very strange circles. No. He said, that's really, he thought that's very strange. And they found out that this house was owned by a crippled girl who was not happy about them being in her house. They found out as they went through all these houses that all these spirits and poltergeists were not happy about them people living in the houses they used to live in. An exorcist was called in, and he said these words. He said, many people from the past that have died are very possessive about where they used to live. They don't believe anybody should be in where they used to live. And he used to go to the houses, his exorcist, and say to them to get rid of him. He used to say, listen, you're dead now. You have no use for this house any longer. Please leave alone. And after he said that, they would disappear. Now, we live in one of them properties built on the burial ground. One of my friends saw a spirit over in this corner, probably just behind where this chair was. So I'm a bit spooked by this. But that famous person, Maurice Grosse, he was like the most regarded and respected paranormal investigator. Featured in Conjuring 2. Timothy Spall played him in the Enfield Haunting. This is what he had to say.
I would say to the people in Gorton, the best way to tackle this is to tackle it head on, to recognise that phenomena is happening, and first of all, that it's not going to harm you. It looks as if it's going to harm you, but it won't harm you. Get interested in what's happening. Once you get interested in what's happening, take the stress out of the situation and you'll find it will start to diminish. But whilst it is happening, because I don't believe that in most cases anybody can actually do anything about it except the people themselves involved. Once they reduce that stress situation, they will find the activity will start to go away.
So who'd have thought that Maurice would be interested in the Gorton poltergeist? Oh my goodness, that's absolutely terrifying. Now, as I say, do watch the documentary. It's on YouTube for free. Unlike me, which would like a donation, tip jar. You didn't hear that, subliminal. It is like a paranormal episode of Jeremy Kyle, so it'll give you your Jeremy Kyle fix. But I think if I was in charge of The Conjuring 3, this is what I'd do. This is a poster for The Conjuring 3, right there. Oh, yes. It could include all the stories I've told you tonight. So, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed it. I really had great fun. Now, I was only meant to do an hour, and I've just been told by Emma it's 9:20. So, I really am so honoured that you stayed with me for so long. I thought it was going to be an hour long. I'm a bit of a gobshite. I've really enjoyed it. Just on a serious note, if you have enjoyed it, please leave me a donation. It's a virtual tip jar. If you can't afford it, I totally understand. I've got a long wait between the 13th of March to 1st of June to see if I'm entitled to anything, but it would be really great if you could. If you're watching this as a repeat, and you might well do, again, please consider leaving a donation. I really do miss you all very much. Now, I don't know if Emma's sorted out how to do some Q&As, but let's have a little bit of a Q&A session. So can we do that, Emma? So if you go on that bottom thing, scroll across,
yes.
There's something that's like a language thing. Is it coming
load
up?
comments. Here we go.
Yes, let's have, anybody want to ask me anything, my friends? I've really missed you all. Really missed you all.
Here we go.
Let's have a few. So it's about 9:20, is it, Emma? What time is it?
Yeah, 22 minutes past.
Right, well, we'll have to half past. So anybody want to ask any questions? Come on, my friends. I miss you. Come on, some of my regulars. Cheers, everybody, by the way. Cheers. Well, I'll tell you, one of my performances lasts between 90 minutes and 2 hours. So it was very much like the Gorton Ghost Walk without moving. So it's great for, well, none of us are moving at the moment, are we, really? And God bless all you Fleckers and Fleckettes out there that work for the other services like the NHS. I give you a round of applause. Oh my God, I cannot say how proud I am of you. Not just you, everybody else that's out there who's still working, people that are baking for us, that are cooking for us, that are delivering for us, that are just keeping the place driving for us. I can't believe it, you know. I feel a bit of a waste of space being an actor in a time like this, but you know, when we come out of this, we all have to be entertained, and I hope to get back to how it was. Any questions? Any good ones?
It's just going so fast.
Let's just pick one if you can for me. I'm sorry. I'll try to answer to you after.
Will you be doing the stop put one when they start again?
Of course, of course. I'm very lucky in a way because although I don't qualify for any of these grants and stuff because I don't have an actual business property, I can just pick up when I can start again because the air raid shelters aren't going to be closed down. They're closed for now, but they're owned by the council. Staircase houses and all them places. I'll be back at them. All them all Bramble. Excuse me, bit of wind there. I'm burping like an angry walrus. Excuse me. Yes, all them places will be open again. And of course, and hopefully, Crack Taxi, if you're watching Joe, you'll be back. I'll be bringing my audience in. He's going to have a new pub in Stockport, which we can end in, called the Glass Spider. And yeah, the Stockport one will be back. Any other questions? Oh, there's so many questions to ask. Just pick one quickly.
I can't. They're just
Can't go too fast.
When you're gonna put ring on Buglug's finger?
I don't believe that's a real question,
yes,
so I'm not answering that one.
Right,
that was not a real question.
It's here.
That's a song by Beyonce. It's not a real question.
Is this going to be a regular thing?
Yes, I hope so, because as I say, the only way I can make money now is to do it online and virtual performances. And so what we're going to do after this one tonight, I'm going to leave it on, and hopefully people will still donate after it's been left on the different group pages. But yeah, I'm going to do one of them Facebook polls where you can put different locations down, and I'm going to ask what area they'd like me to do next. Obviously not the areas I do on the Ghost Walks. If you go on my manchesterghostwalk.co.uk, which is also, there's a page for this, and you can donate on there. That's subliminal, you won't have heard that. Not them places, because you need to come on them performances, those places, but anywhere that you really think, or where you live, oh, I've heard this great story. And I don't mind you neither sending me a private message saying, you know, oh, this happened in the area I live in. Every 2 weeks, I'm going to try to do one of these. So it's like 2 weeks of research and writing the script, because I knew, even though it's strange, you know, I live in Gorton, I knew none of this. I knew little bits and pieces, but, you know, I really did my research, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Any other questions?
Yeah, just can we do it every week?
Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Let's
yeah.
get the stories together. But please watch the other one again, and every time you watch it, donate. Watch it 50 times at 50 pence. No, I've really enjoyed it. What time are we on? Is it nearly 1:30?
It's 26 minutes past.
We'll have one more question if she can get me one. It's moving so fast that she can't see what's going on.
Nicola Jane, do you believe in ghosts? Have you seen any?
Yes, do I believe in ghosts? Yes. I do believe in them. I believe in the scientific reason for them, which they say about stone tape theory, that if something happens in front of a wall that's traumatic, it sucks in the energy and plays it back like a video recording. But that doesn't explain what I've seen on Ouija boards on my performances. If you want to have a, you know, on the Chiltern one, I do a Ouija board at the end. On Tavern of the Dead, I do a Ouija board. And I know a lot of my audience is cynical, and I say nothing's fixed, nothing's fake, there's no wires, there's no magnets. I don't touch the board because you'd think I was pushing it. But the things it comes out with is incredible. And those people that are watching tonight that have had a go with me on them things, it works every time. And talking about ghosts, I've seen weird things on my performances, like light sources. We all saw something float into the ceiling when we were in the underground once. But it's on photographs afterwards when people send them to me and say, what the hell's this? Staircase House in Stockport is incredible. There's a window there, which is the haunted window. And every time people take photographs, the faces that you see in it, we're not talking about our reflections, we're talking about gremlins and gargoyles and children's faces. It's incredible.
Just before you finish.
Yeah, one more question.
There's people still asking how to donate, so if you just make it really clear.
Yeah, you donate, just go on this link that's on here, or go on monsterghostwalk.co.uk. All you have to do is search Flecky Benny in any search engine. You'll find my website. You'll see where it says Facebook Live. The donate button is on there. Also, I want to mention, and I nearly forgot, and I said I wouldn't, there's a program called Ghost Dimensions. I was very lucky to work with them on a few episodes 2 years ago, or last year, was it now? Yeah, probably last year. They showed an episode of mine, which you can still see on my Facebook page. It's also on my website, where I spent half an hour with an infrared camera in an haunted area in the Bowling Green pub in Chorlton. And I believe they're going to be showing the full episode again in the next coming week or so. So this is out to all at Ghost Dimensions. Respect, guys. Love you all. Love all you Fleckers and Fleckettes. So if you can bring up the end. Let's finish it in good style.
Okie dokie.
Bring the end up.
Bringing the end.
Oh, yeah. And so if you are confused about where to pay me, there's a link on this Facebook page, a link on the website, and you should be looking at it right now. But that's subliminal. You won't even remember that. It'll be all spooky. So in the words of Clinton Baptiste, fading now, fading now, fading now.